The sky is falling. This is one of the most chilling of all the statements recorded by the survivors, and also one of the most accurate. Venus was located above us, and it began to fall into us. In electrical terms, pressure is called voltage. The voltage between the two planets increased, and the planets' atmospheres began warming. Some versions of Exodus say that the Nile ran red, which would be a correct description of a current flowing to the earth. The earth was the cathode in this story. Some versions of Exodus says, quote, that thou shalt take the water of the river and pour it upon the dry land, and the water which thou shalt take from the river shall be blood upon the dry land. The river represents a stream of energy, plasma, and a stream is another name for a Nile. And in this case, the Nile of plasma between Venus and the Earth. When the plasma from the Nile is poured out on the dry land, the plasma became blood across the dry land. When the stream of plasma hit dry land where people live, people began to die, a la Sodom and Gomorrah. This is both a description of the start of the event, and it is also a description of the whole event. When I searched the surface of the earth for something that looks like it was poured out on the land, the very splash-like characteristics of the dunes found in southwest Australia come to mind. What caused these very unusual forms, if not something splashing? If it was something splashing, was that something plasma poured out on the dry ground? I set all of this up because the story of the 10 plagues is completely true, and its sequence is beautiful and predictable if we begin from the premise that the increasing pressure and the incoming voltage began to heat the surface of the earth.
Alright, listen. Our stories have to match, okay? We can't all be saying different things. So here's how I'm going to do the 10 plagues, alright? And you let me know if you cross paths. Totally. I'm going to give this Moses character a friend named Aaron. And Aaron will be my stand-in for Venus. When Aaron stretches out his rod, he means like a current of electricity to the earth. Okay, so your Aaron is my Medusa, and both are the planet Venus, right? Bingo. I'm thinking to immortalize the first plague, we'll remind people of the positive current by saying the Nile ran red. Which is true. And then when the plasma hit the ground in the first wave, we'll remind people of the blood across the land. I'm going to tell folks the static electric force raped Venus, and she fell from her beauty and grace in Athena's temple. People eat that shit up. That blood across the dry land thing, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm thinking of immortalizing the staff as the hair of Medusa that turned people into stone. Stolen. The plague of frogs is the second plague. As the surface continued to warm, all the cold-blooded amphibians, all the frogs, started humping like prom for a month. And then, boom, 10 billion frogs. When the swamp didn't cool, and instead kept warming, the breakdown in the food chain turned the water toxic, and then, boom, 10 billion frogs out of the swamps and in the houses, towns, and fields. What a mess.
Oh, there's way more. The frogs are also synonymous with the positive electrostatic field that developed everywhere.
Oh, I remember that. That was like doorknobs on steroids. Everything we came close to jumped at us like a frog and shocked us. Total plague of frogs. Someone write this shit down. Yes, always record. The third plague had those gnats, or some say lice, everywhere. Oh, God, that was awful.
Yeah, gnats thrive on decaying plant matter, which was, as you know, everywhere because of this warming trend. So boom, 10 trillion gnats or lice or whatever you want. But dude, read the text. This is like a charge current static cling thing going on, but in God mode. The dust of the particles of the earth became charged, and that made the dust particles float like gnats and cling like lice.
Again the Lord said unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch out thy rod, and smite the dust of the earth, that it may be turned to lice, throughout all the land of Egypt. Maybe gnats, lice. What do you think?
Dude.
Totally has the static cling feel. Totally. Oh man, dude, do you remember how bad those dead frogs got?
Those frogs were so bad. Check this out. Moses moment.
And the Lord did according to the saying of Moses. So the frogs died in the houses, in the towns, and in the fields. And they gathered them together by heaps, and the land stank of them. Cue Plague 4. The rotting flesh and maggots, followed by a plague of flies. Checks out real world. You should go total God mode on the 5th plague. Tell them that everything everywhere died, except for your stuff. How's this sound? Behold, the hand of the Lord shall be upon thy cattle in the fields, both on the horses, and on the asses, and on the camels, and oxen, and sheep, a very great mortality. And yet I, God, I'm a great God, a really just the best, I will make a marvelous distinction in that time between the cattle of the Egyptians and the cattle of the children of Israel. Nothing shall die of all that is of the children of Israel.
Ha ha ha, sweet. So the 6th plague of the unhealable boils. No impact on the tribe of Israel, though, right?
Nope. Untouched. God mode, dude. We were chosen to tiptoe through this thing. Don't make me send my God in your direction. He's got anger issues. Where were you guys for 40 years anyway? We got lost, okay? Back off. The apocalypse created a big effing desert, bro. But you know, I remember when the land first burst open at the onset of the 6th plague, there was a volcanic eruption involving a burst of energy.
God mode alert.
And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, saying, Take your hands full of coal from the furnace, and let Moses pass it into the sky against Pharaoh and against his healers, and dust will be born in all the land of Egypt. And it will be on the people, and on the four-footed sores, blisters flare up, among men, and among quadrupeds, and in all the land of Egypt. Man, that's pretty wicked stuff. Yes, it radically changed the electrical potential of the air, and people began to have boils. They no longer healed. About this point, the wetlands were beginning to boil too. They bubbled up like sores. Your story has some serious legs. Well done. Word, bro. Keep going. The 7th plague is the fire and brimstone phase, when the first material from the surface of Venus, from Aaron, started to arrive in our atmosphere. Total shit show. Oh, how's this sound? And Moses stretched forth his hand to heaven, and the Lord sent thunderings and hail. The fire ran along upon the ground, and the Lord rained hail on all the land of Egypt. So there was hail, and flaming fire mingled with hail. And the hail was very great. Such was not in Egypt from the time there was a nation upon it. And the hail smote in all the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And the hail smote all the grass in the field. And the hail broke all pieces, all the trees in the field. Yeah, dude, that's pretty accurate, don't you think?
No impact on the tribe of Israel, though, right?
God mode, dude. This has all the hallmarks of the sky is falling. Also your mom. Dude, that's brutal.
Oh, it's better than that. Plague 6 is the surface static electric discharge, a volcanic eruption that discharged up, followed in Plague 7 by the current of the material being sucked down from the surface of Venus. They happened at the same time, but the surface material from Venus took time to get here. So it was the 7th plague. These two events caused global fires.
Plague 8 is the plague of locusts, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little known fact, but the global fires triggered mass downpours of rain, which triggered locusts, who live in a state known as solitarius, a quiet and solitary state. They clicked into the swarm behavior called the gregarious state. Global fires triggered massive downpours. Massive downpours triggered locust swarm.
Boom, boom, boom. 6, 7, and 8, exactly where they're supposed to be. And then the 9th plague, the sky goes dark for 3 days.
Again the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand towards the heavens, that there may be upon the land of Egypt darkness, even darkness that may be felt. That's some pretty heavy stuff. Oh, movie sign! Get him in his nose! Get him in his nose! Ah, Hollywood screwed up the story. There's no giant fight. Medusa is sleeping when my son Perseus comes in and decapitates her. He found her where she was sleeping. This is where my God sent me, to part the Red Sea. Moses over there killed the first world of Atlantis. It's not some super selective eugenics program. All the control systems put in place as part of a program designed by artificial intelligence died at the moment that Perseus decapitated Medusa.
No impact on the tribe of Israel, though, right?
God mode, dude. And the angel of God, which went before the host of Israel, removed and went behind them. Also, the pillar of cloud went from before them and stood behind them, and came between the camp of Egyptians and the camp of Israel. It was both a cloud and darkness, yet gave it light by night, so that all the night long the one came not at the other. And Moses stretched forth his hand upon the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to run back by a strong east wind all the night, and made the sea dry land, for the waters were divided. You got anything else, Moses? Everything in our history, from here forward, represents the original rulers trying to maintain control of the slaves, turning the symbols everyone saw into religions. And I think we can all agree, the death of the event is something we each immortalize through sacrifice in our own way over the next couple of millennium. We will sacrifice birds, but first we'll sacrifice our children.
Your sacrifices will pale to the mass carnage I will unleash. Ha 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 ha! Amaruka, whole land of the plumed serpent.
I'm gonna sacrifice a couple of Coronas in a Klondike bar. Ooh, I have an idea. In a couple 100 years, I'll take over this first temple you guys will set up, and I'll go in with pigs, and I'll slaughter them on your altar. Ha 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 ha! Dude's got some serious issues. Oh man, that will really rile the troops up. Totally dig it. Totally. Anywho, the bosses wrote their intro for the story. What do you think? God spoke to Moses, saying, I am the being one.
As in the many, being one. Many what? Zeus?